All right, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what I do. I teach in the School of Gerontology, and I run the USC Age-Friendly University Initiative. Our activities, these past few months have not been very active at all. What has been running is individual experience, such as we've had an intergenerational phone tree. We've had students from gerontology, from Keck School of Medicine, from all over campus, reaching out to older people in the past few months through an intergenerational phone tree. We have things like tech assistance happening through the Emeriti Center and other ways. We are looking forward to, a year where we have to reimagine ourselves. So as you all know, we take it day by day and see what happens. I can share my screen with just a few things to show you. Actually, one would be, here's our website, which on it is a video I'm not going to play now. It's like a 4-minute video that we put together last year, thanks to the School of Cinematic Arts, who helped us get it together. So you can check that out. If you just go to, you can see there at the top, gero.usc.edu/age-friendly or agefriendly.usc.edu. You can find it. You can also follow us on various forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Anyway, I'm not going to play the video now, but you can watch that on your own. And then let me just switch. I'm going to switch over to this. So just a few slides to just look at some of the things we're interested in. So USC was the first university in California to join the Age-Friendly University Network. We're very pleased when UCLA joined us as well. There are several other institutions in California, but dozens. And the Age-Friendly University Network actually started at Dublin City College in Ireland, and they have a network run by Christine O'Kelly, who's there, and they're really interested in having universities look at what universities can do to be more in touch with the aging demographic and population that's happening around the world, as well as in our local communities, but also look at our institutions, what kind of research we do to support longevity and longer lives, and also how we treat students who might be non-traditionally aged. So age inclusivity on campus is something we're really interested in. By the way, GSA, the Gerontological Society of America, has a new newsletter on age inclusivity. Our first issue came out just last week, and we have another one upcoming in November that will feature Karen Lincoln from Advocates for African American Elders at USC's, affiliated with USC. So what we do with our Age-Friendly University initiative at USC is try to engage students, right? We have students working towards degrees that will serve the older population, whether it's in gerontology, social work, Rossier School of Education, the medical school, public policy, dentistry, you name it, right? So we're looking at how to support students in that regard. We're looking at getting experiential ed that's been on hold. As you might imagine, getting student volunteers out in the community has been on hold. And we're really interested in our students of all ages. We've had especially online students who are mid-career or second career professionals in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. How can we accommodate them? And just, anything we can do to support older students and be age inclusive, as well as our retired faculty, staff, family members. You can check out the Age-Friendly University website that'll link you to the global network, that'll give you the principles that the global network asks different universities to abide by. So I'm not going to go through those principles now, but again, we're looking at our students, we're looking at our employees, we're looking at family caregiving, We're looking at retirees in the community. We're looking at our alumni, including our half-century Trojans who are 72 years old and older. And we're looking at our research in all these areas that support lifespan health. So I don't want to go on too long, but those are some of the things the Age-Friendly University Initiative does. And like many things, we've just been kind of, waiting in the wings to see where the pandemic winds will blow next. So hopefully not right in our face. So we'll wait and see what we can do in the future. I'll turn it back over to Jeanette. And I'll stop sharing this screen.
And I would love to turn it over to Ayusha from UCLA because I'm not sure she's doing double today. So Ayusha, if you'd like to say a little bit about what you're doing at your center, who you are, all of this stuff would be great.
Great. Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Good to see some familiar faces. My name is Ayusha Dixon. I'm the director of the Emeriti Retiree Relations Center at UCLA. We're a bit younger when it comes to our joining the Age-Friendly University. We joined late of 2018, and I started UCLA early 2019. So we're just kind of getting the ball rolling on a lot of our age-friendly practices and communication. So our core purpose at the Retirement Center at UCLA is to serve as a connecting link to all of our retired staff and faculty. To do this, we've partnered internally a lot with our campus resources. And in the past year, pre-COVID, of course, we've tried to expand and develop initiatives and principles that are age-friendly. A lot of our current internal and external relationships have been with Jeanette over at the USC Emeriti Center. We've been doing other partnerships with the Daily Bruin. We had a podcast not too long ago. We even redesigned our website to be more senior friendly and focus on COVID-related issues with the pandemic. Also, some other things on campus is we've participated in a number of research studies on older adults and how technology has sort of shaped the way of people living nowadays. We're working with the Seminole Healthy Campus Initiative to create sort of like a Age Well podcast that will focus on not only just older students, but older faculty, older staff, alumni, donors, and community residents, so that we're really getting a whole sense of age-friendly policies, not just on campus, but around the campus, and trying to focus those programs to be on research, teaching, practice, and trying to accommodate older staff, older employees, working with student health and campus safety for age-friendly walkways. As I mentioned, it's been a slower process here only because I know USC is great and they have the gerontology school. At UCLA, we do have a couple of gerontology minors and some students who take gerontology courses. But it's been one of the challenges with Age Friendly at UCLA is creating that network to help expand what older adults need, what age friendly means on campus, and how we can integrate ourselves into different aspects of more things on a systemic level when it comes to current policies and aging courses for students when they come in. I am a former Trojan. I guess I'm always a Trojan. I did go to USC at the School of Gerontology for my master's. So I'm like a Truan. I'm a Trojan and a Bruin. So a lot of the knowledge that I had at USC is one of the main reasons why I took the position at UCLA, is so I can just take all my gerontology things and force it on UCLA and intergenerational programming and promote a quality of life for older adults and promote that social environment. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell so far as to current things that we've been doing. A lot of it's just relationship building. I've done some work with Jeanette and other students at the Emeriti Center at USC to pick their brain about how they see age friendly and how gerontology is playing a role in their professional and their life. So it's definitely a marathon. A lot of these things that we've done this past year with the podcast and the interview on yesterday and our daily Bruin report, it's all just ways of growing our age-friendly initiatives and our principles to be one of the leading resources for all things age-friendly here on the West Side. So I'm glad to be a part of this conversation. Anytime we can collaborate with the Emeriti Center at USC, I'm all for it. So really glad to have this open panel and discussion with everyone.
Thank you, Ayusha. It's great to have you here. And we have been collaborating for years and years with UCLA, but also with institutions across the United States and Canada. This is through the Association of Retirement Organizations in Higher Education. And the focus of this nonprofit organization, which evolved from USC since 2002, is to help colleges and universities develop programs, associations, centers, Emeriti colleges to engage their retired faculty and staff, and also, to help them stay connected to their institution. But the point is, we believe that the retired faculty and staff on colleges and universities, they are the largest as a group untapped resource that a university could have. So we're inspired by what some of the schools, small, medium, large, urban, rural, all these different schools are trying to support their retired faculty and staff who, for the most part, are over age 55, which are older adults. So we're celebrating today. The USC Emeriti Center has been in existence since 1978. The center at UCLA since 1970.
1969, we were the first Emeriti Center in the nation. So we do have that.
Yes,
we just celebrated our 50th anniversary.
Congratulations. Yes, I was there.
50, I look good for 50, right?
And our Retired Faculty Association was established in 1948. So we have the oldest retired faculty association. So, and anyway, we've been partners for years. The USC Emeriti Center itself has a college, a staff retirement association, a retired faculty association, a living history project. And we do a lot of intergenerational work because we truly believe that we are an inclusive community, and we include friends as well as faculty, staff, students, alumni, and we engage with the local community. And for the most part, we also engage our students for experiential learning with our faculty. So we highlight the work, the research, and the teaching of our faculty for the benefits of the older adults as well as our students. So this is this co-creation of learning that takes place, and the deeper understanding among the generations. So we've done a lot of programming around this.
Great.
Let's mute that. But I would like to open up our discussion, if I may, and hear from some of those that are on the call about their thoughts about, did you even know about IDOP, the energy, this day? Or who among you are gerontology students that are focusing on this, and your thoughts? So feel free to, you can either raise your hand, be in the chat session.
Hi, I'm Zora.
Yeah, Zora, go ahead.
I have to go soon, so I thought I'd just say hello and thank you so much for organizing this. I am a student and getting a master's in gerontology. Dr. Cicero here is my professor in my first class. So she told me about IDOP, and I'm really excited about it. So I should have known this. I'm a little bit disappointed myself about this today. But I did post it all over social media and hopefully bring awareness to others. So thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the things is the International Day of Older Persons. It's not as obscure, but there there's Older Americans Awareness Month in May, so most people are probably more familiar with that one. So for IDOP, it's about dispelling ageism. It's about talking about how we can be more inclusive of older adults. So it's really good to, you know, have this dialogue and this discussion to see what age friendly means to everyone, and also how we can celebrate our older adults. Anyone else want to jump in the conversation about what aging means to you? What age friendly things are you seeing in your everyday life, or what would you like to see more of? Elaine, go ahead.
You need to unmute, Elaine.
Okay. Some of the ones I'm in, unmute for you. So anyway, I worked at USC for a long time, which is why I am here, and was a fairly active member of the Emeriti Center for a while, for a few years. And I don't find the world particularly age unfriendly. I'm 82, by the way, but I'm little, and so people don't think I'm that old, I don't think. But I think that there are, anyway, I don't feel the ageism. Now, of course, right now I'm living at a senior living, and so of course you wouldn't feel it here because everybody's old. But I haven't run into the obstacles, and maybe I'm just lucky, but the only time I ran into obstacles was when I was in my 40s looking for a job. And I think that was ageism. But I think that in midlife, there's probably a lot more, maybe particularly for women, I'm not sure about that. But there certainly was ageism then when I was in my 40s looking for jobs. And, but now I don't interact with society in the same way. So I probably get ignored a lot, but I don't know it, so it doesn't bother me. Anyway, that's really all I have to say, is that it was much more of a midlife thing in my experience than it is an old lady thing. Thank you.
I think, interestingly enough, one of the disparities that's been highlighted for the pandemic has been, you know, when it comes to possible need for a ventilator with, you know, older adults versus someone who's in the hospital at 40, 45 years old versus someone who's maybe 70, 80, who's going to get that ventilator, probably the younger person. In conversations I've had with other friends who are in the film industry, they see a lot of ageism when it comes to roles. When it comes to an older adult playing a role in a TV or movie, it's either someone that's senile or the weird old pervert type of adult. So the silvering of media is something that's come up in the film industry quite a bit, because you don't see a lot of roles when it comes to older adults. I think I read something a while ago that the last full cast of older adults was Golden Girls. And there's been a resurgence with Frankie and Grace, but it's interesting to kind of see how people are, you know, in their own personal life, either deal with ageism or have had personal experience with it.
Definitely. I'd love to hear from some of the students if they have some ideas of anything they've observed or felt within their own families, or why they're even on this call. Oh, and Jessime, you want to unmute yourself?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Well, I'm so glad that I read that this was happening because I have always been very interested in adult studies. I completed my master's in 2010 in adult education because I thought that adults had like a lot more to give than children, and I know that some of my colleagues that study education and focus on kids, they probably think the opposite, but I have always felt like adults have so much to give uh, throughout all the ages, and I think that the experience that we can get in a multi-generational setting is so important. And I think that from the moment that I completed that master's program, I just completed my doctorate in social work at USC, and I can see that in 10 years things have changed for the better. I think that we saw the big conversation about baby boomers in like probably around 2010, and people were like thinking that we were not going to be able to know how to help our baby boomers. I think is wrong. I think like the baby boomers were the ones that are actually like saving us now from all the chaos that is happening. But it's good because we can work together in a multi-generational community. And right now, it's so important to continue moving forward that approach. Like Ayesha, you mentioned about how important it is to get involved. And I think this is definitely something we need to continue collaborating because it is an issue of humanity and closing the gap of aging. And I don't see why not moving this agenda forward and making it more visible in all the universities and even like all other offices like government offices and organization offices.
Great. Yeah, you made a lot of great, fantastic points. Anyone else that's a current student or has classes that they've just learned what gerontology is and want to share? Giovanna?
Hi, Aisha and everyone. My name is Giovanna. I am a master's student at USC in gerontology. I got here because I started as a CNA in high school and worked with older adults in their homes as well as in facilities. And our chemistry just went through the roof more than any other generation or demographic of people. So I decided as a public health major from Cal State LA, I wanted to work on this population for the rest of my life. So I am really proud to be here and so glad to see so many people who also have the same interests and values. And I mean, I have so many things to say. I'm also on a nonprofit organization called the Youth Movement Against Alzheimer's, and that was started at UCLA. And we are trying to partner a little bit with USC. We do have some partnerships going on with the Caregiver Resource Center and Dr. Donna Benton. But, you know, personally, professionally, and everything, academic, I just want to know what I feel like I'm always asking older people to help me help them, but I also just want to know what are older people's vision for the future, what are their wishes, what are their desires to see in younger generations, because I want to carry that vision forward and that legacy forward through my career. So I think that's what I want to gain from this session today, is trying to hear from the older people. What do you wish for us to work on? Do you want to collaborate with us? How can we help you? And what do you think about us? Do you categorize us as one millennial group? Because some of us don't like that. I wish I was born earlier. I wish I got to experience the 80s and the 60s and even the 20s and 30s. So, you know, I want to figure out what are the stereotypes, what are some stigmas we can break together. Let me know. I'm here.
Michael.
Yeah, hi, Aisha, and everyone. And Michael Baroff, Ayusha, we met for the OATF, group, as you may recall. And I guess I'll speak for the baby boomers here. I'm beginning my 70th year. I always, for birthdays or anniversaries, so I finished 69, I'm in the 70s. So I've been involved with groups like the Older Adults Task Force here in Santa Monica. I'm on the Emeritus College in Santa Monica College. I facilitate a workshop on conscious aging and the like. So, I mean, the comment I would make here is I find, especially in a lot of what I'm getting a sense of, is the focus of gerontology is on, shall we say, the caring for the downside of aging, Alzheimer's, people in nursing homes, the caregiving aspect. Hello, there's the rest of us, especially we baby boomers. I'm UCLA, 1972 undergraduate. So, that's, that those of us who don't use the word retirement, with all due respect, and how we can be, I'll use the word, I often use useful. I mean, I'm fortunate, my daughter's 30, so, and she's, I get to connect with her, so I'm keeping in touch with how that generation is looking at things. And when I have the opportunity to be supportive, and, I won't use the word mentoring, but the support that we do have some level of wisdom in our age, especially those of us who keep our brains and minds and our activities going. I'm a Santa Monica Arts Commissioner. So, I mean, it's for those of us who are really trying to be, as I do, consciously aging and get away and reimagining our life for the next X number of years, with the hope that we aren't being seen as debilitated at this age. So that's kind of the comment I would make, and curious to see how gerontology is focusing on us even continuing to work. I still consult, we still do work. We're still very viable people. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I can answer it from my perspective. I mean, I definitely try to focus a lot of my programming and my interaction on longevity and age positive. A lot of our older adults are still very active, and I prefer the term older adults. I know I saw someone in the chat, what do people want to be called? I think older adults is just very general. But I try to avoid the word elderly or senior, because it kind of is maybe a negative connotation. But I totally agree with you, Michael. I think we need to find a way to be more age positive and focus programming and dialogue on longevity, and not the retirees of the generation past are totally different. And I would say, similar to Giovanna, I started my career as a caregiver, changing diapers and giving medication, and it just kind of grew from there to my work previously at the Alzheimer's Association and back at the gerontology school at USC. And there's a different generation of retirees. Back when I was working at a retirement community, there were seniors who wanted brown rice and quinoa, and that would have been unheard of maybe 30 or 40 years ago. And we just had to realize that with every retirement season, and we just had our retirement class of 2020 at UCLA, there's different needs and different wants for each generation. They're going to be totally different than what an 85-year-old would want. And we just, I think, all have to adapt with how we think about aging. And this is kind of where ageism comes into place, and how to better understand the aging population over a spectrum of different age groups. I feel like I'm talking too much, so please jump in. I could talk all day, all things aging, and I don't want to do that. So I would love to hear from anyone else about their interaction with becoming an older adult, or what made you decide to either major in gerontology. Did you know what it was? Years ago, I had a small gerontology class of maybe 30 people. I think it was very small. It was with Dr. Zach Gassimus and a few other people in my school. So I'm curious as to why people are finding this field and how they're being more interested in older adults and aging.
I'll say quickly, I use it as a way to live in the present, the past, and the future. I find it so valuable to be able to speak to people who've lived before me, who are living with me now, and who may not live with me in the future. So that's how I look at gerontology. And it's also great because you can apply it to yourself. Gerontology is the study of life. So everything that I learn, I'm able to apply to myself and my loved ones and to people I just meet on the streets.
Hi, Jerry.
This is Jerry Walker. Um, I like very much the way Giovanna just expressed herself. I find that as a retiree now for a dozen years or more, um, I was allowed to sort of retire gradually by continuing relationship through the USC Emeriti Center as director of the Emeriti College for 7 years. And that allowed me to stay in touch with friends that I had developed over, 40 years at USC. And now we're very actively engaged with helping with the education online of 4 grandchildren in the outskirts of Philadelphia. So we're doing pre-K instruction every morning with a 4-year-old granddaughter. So that allows us to stretch both ways. And I have the blessing of one of my daughters, Katie Walker Beck, who is helping us extend our knowledge of our previous generations and building family trees in all directions that we possibly can. And she's done a marvelous job. And we get together every Sunday to go through old letters and photographs, memorabilia that my mother's mother, my grandmother, preserved for us, which allows us to take a large step back into seeing the people who preceded us. So it's a multi-generational perspective. It's staying in touch with the young, and it's trying to remain vital and involved. And even because my mother and her older sister had Alzheimer's, my wife and I are involved with the Alzheimer's Research Center at USC, Keck School of Medicine. So we're doing our bit to try and help current scholars understand this aging problem better. But we're enjoying our retirement and our health, and we're very fortunate. Thank you for listening.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think it's really important when it comes to interacting with younger children. That intergenerational is so important because it teaches younger children that 4 or 5 that there's value in working and living with these interdisciplinary and multi-generational family units. And I think we see that a lot nowadays, especially during the pandemic. A lot of people are moving in with their parents or taking their parents in, and you have that multi-generational household. And it's so important to help build these lifelong learning opportunities for people of all ages. Anyone else want to chime in? How has it been, working with living in a world of Zoom and, living in a digital world? There's a lot of digital literacy that we've come across with our campus and working with our retired faculty and some staff. So we've made a point to have extra Zoom sessions and workshops on people learning how to communicate like this, because this is definitely a new technology for all of us.
Elaine, can you unmute?
Anyway, I was somehow intimidated by Zoom. And honest to God, I've been using computers since you had to walk down to Beverly Hills to get more memory to put a school budget on. You know, I mean, a long time. And I worked at ISI, and we were putting the internet in. So I had been using it, communicating on a computer before many of you have, because they had the ARPANET before the internet. And so if you're not an engineer, you probably weren't using it. So what I really miss is hugs, and there's nothing, I don't think there's any solution for not being able to get hugs if you're a single person in this pandemic. And I don't think that that's really just a function of age. I think that that's just a human function. And if for your families and stuff, give them as many virtual hugs as you can, because there are some of us who are living by themselves. Well, I have a dog. Thank you, God, I have a dog. So she's very good company. But, and I also wanted to say, when it was said before about having to decide during COVID who gets a respirator, if I had been one of those people, I would have rather had it given to a younger person. So try not to feel too guilty about that, because I think there are many of us who think, I don't mean I want to die, I don't, but I've had my share, I've had my time, and if it's between me and somebody who's 30, go for the person who's 30, because they're going to miss a whole lot of stuff that I didn't have to miss. So I don't know if you wanted to hear something like that, but I think that I'm not alone in feeling that way. And so I felt like I really wanted to say it, but I really am learning to enjoy Zoom. I never thought I would say that. I do not know why it intimidated me so much, but I belong to a couple of organizations where they were doing Zoom, have been doing Zoom all along. And this, not this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to be at a Zoom where a bunch of us who've been communicating on the internet are going to meet each other, people who don't know each other. So that's going to be fun. That's something it feels like I have something to look forward to, which is something which is missing from a pandemic, not just for old people, but for everyone. So, sorry, I hope I didn't take.
No, that was so beautiful. That's wonderful to hear.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I'll turn my video on for you guys. Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm one of the Emeriti Center student workers, and I'm a undergraduate student. I'm a senior this year, and I help run our events. That's just a little background. But I just want to say, Elaine, I loved your point that you made, and how you talked about COVID and everything and your selflessness. I think working at the Emeriti Center has always kept me humbled, and I think you all have made me wise beyond my years. I also, when I was in middle school and high school, my parents always wanted me to do service opportunities, and I decided to work at a senior living home, and every Sunday I'd go and serve dinner. And honestly, I think Jeanette has said it, but the most untapped resources and the most that you can learn from somebody is, in my opinion, an older person. And I love having conversations with you guys. And I also think we've been running the weekly Zoom sessions and everything. And I know there's sometimes a stigma or a stereotype that older adults have trouble with technology or adjusting to recent technology changes and everything, but you guys are amazing at it, and everybody gets on our calls and does fantastic with it. We haven't really had any issues with any of our attendees or older adults on Zoom, so applause to you guys. You're doing better than some of my young 30-year-old undergraduate professors, so just wanted to add that.
It has been inspirational to me to be working with our students. I failed to mention that the USC Emeriti Center, which is for retired faculty and staff, is being run almost entirely by students. The intergenerational learning that takes place at the Emeriti Center, and the students are learning from our older adults, the older adults are learning from our students, and the understanding that's created among them has been so inspirational to me. And recently our students created a Zoomers to Boomers panel. They've done it twice. And we also included the great, Jerry's generation, but the silent generation. But the exchange among the different ages and the perspectives, guess what? We all feel the same in many ways. My grandma told me years, when I was a teenager, Jeanette, I feel the same way inside that you do, or that, I'm not any different at 17 than I just have more, maybe wisdom, knowledge, and experience. But other than that, I'm still the same person. I still feel the same way. And so the more we can do these intergenerational discussions, I think the better. So thank you, Courtney. She's one of our we have 6 stars at the Emeriti Center. Caroline, we haven't heard from you. I know there's an awful lot of research going on, and also you've been not only in higher ed, but you've also been in the midst of LA and all the things that were going on in the government and the community. Could you say a few words about your perspectives about what you're seeing?
Sure. Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a race and kind of a frenzy to figure out the nutrition programs. And I might ask Brandy to talk in a minute, who's on here, just giving you a heads up. Anyway, getting things like home delivered meals and congregate meal sites running was kind of a frenzy. I got on many committees, and just with the start of the semester in recent weeks, 7, 8 weeks ago, I've kind of tuned out of that a little bit. But it's been made apparent to me is so much need to just figure out ongoing what the long haul is. Like, this crisis of our pandemic is not going to be over anytime soon. I was asked by ASA to write a piece about living through fires recently, and I thought, well, that's just one of the stresses going on right now. I thought, I don't know if I can just write about going through fires. There's hurricanes, there's a pandemic, there's the political season. And so I really struggled just with that one issue, and I tried to include everything. So I think my feeling is that we need to figure out a resiliency, whether we're living in an apartment in Koreatown or whether we're living with our family, in Santa Monica, and figure out how we're going to get through this all. I, not only my students, I myself have an 18 and 21-year-old, my own children, and it's really, really hard for them to think about their future. Is there a future? My daughter's graduating from college, as many of you are. It's really, really hard right now. So I think one intergenerational contracts we should have right now is just really a commitment to working together and figure out how to do that. And many of our older, colleagues and friends have been through difficulties before, right? And so even though this seems like the first horrible, situation where everything's coming at us, we need to really depend on each other, I think, to have an intergenerational contract of working together, which is unfortunately what we don't get from our politicians. I was going to say thank you to what Elaine said and her thoughts about like the respirator, but unfortunately we don't hear words of wisdom from politicians. They just say, you know, stupid things like, you know, this and that, as you all know. So anyway, I wanted to see if Brandy Orton wanted to introduce herself. She's here. She has a huge commitment to working in the community, and she's in a new role. So do you want to say hello, Brandy?
Sure. Hi. My name's Brandy Orton. I am a gerontologist, although I graduated from Cal State Fullerton, not from either of the schools here. I've worked in government relations and public policy for the last half decade, and I'm now with Wise and Healthy Aging in Santa Monica, working on the OASIS programming, which is life enriching classes and trips and tours and volunteerism. I have a lot that I could say about that, but you know, I'm gonna first comment from my personal perspective before I talk about what you asked me to speak about, Caroline. So, you know, it's very interesting that as a young person who just is absolutely in love with the process of aging and older people of all ages and the wisdom and the experience. And I very much believe in, Michael, how you were talking earlier about, well, what about the rest of us that are healthy and just alive? You know, what happens to us? And I very much care about creating places in our society where we create the opportunities for people of all ages to come together and share those experiences, right? That we aren't isolating, you know, older adults. And it's interesting because I'll share one of my experiences. So there's, I have to limit, I'm a highly sensitive person. And so I have to limit my exposure to like media and social media and things like that, because it causes me grave emotional detriment. And so I found a show that I've been watching lately, because I also have to limit like negative narratives that I'm hearing through TV. And I found a show that I've been watching called Call the Midwife. And it's a very uplifting, positive show. It makes me feel good. It's about community. It's about values, and rightfully so. It's, you know, based in the 30s, right? And so when we were living in a different society and in a different time, and there was one episode where there was an outbreak of diphtheria that happened. And they were in this episode, they talked about quarantine. And in my mind, as a young person, like I knew that vaccinations came about from eradicating diseases, but I had never really thought through the process of that what we're living through today is not something new. It may feel new to me. I've never been through anything like this, but it just like stopped me in my tracks. And I thought like, wow, I never really thought about how when we get those MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, Tdap, you know, tetanus, diphtheria, all of these are things that our society has lived through. And it was just in that moment from this show that it really opened my eyes to like how much people have lived through these experiences, and how society may be different now, meaning like our environment and our context is different, but how much wisdom there is from all of you, you know, many of you on this call who have lived through these phenomenons that have happened in society with public health. So that was, you know, I just wanted to share that because that was just one of those eye-opening, like I'm a gerontologist, you would think that I would have processed that in my brain prior to seeing it on a show, but it just goes to show you how we all get so, we're in our own experience, and as much as we try and remember other perspectives and other experiences, it's very often that we forget that. And how important that is. So I was messaging Caroline on this call saying, thank you for putting this on, because it's so great to be in a place where I can hear from, you know, so many different people of all different ages. Yeah, going back to what Caroline had asked me to talk about on the meals front. So what I learned from this is how ill-prepared our society is to serve any people who are in need in a disaster. It's not just aging and it's not just the meals that are happening now. It was a nightmare for any of you who are trying to access meals. It was a nightmare for the service providers to know how they can spend their contracting dollars and how they can't, and how to get resources. I don't think that, you know, as Caroline talked about, this speaks to a bigger issue. It's not just the meals for now. It's about how are we as a society connected to each other, and how have we isolated certain groups of people, and how that isolation really is greatly impacted by different, you know, socioeconomic issues that our societies are facing. So I know I've said a lot. I'm sorry. I can go on and on, but thank you for having me here. It's been awesome hearing from all of you sharing. I appreciate being involved in this.
Can I jump in a little bit? Okay.
Yes.
So, hi, my name is Mu Tian, and I'm a second year MSc student at USC. And I think the reason why I'm interested in gerontology is I really like immigrant caregiver related research and healthy aging policy. And also last semester, I was helping Dr. Fernando, the professor at UCLA, in working on the master plan for aging. So I was able to see how different like stakeholders collaborate across different sectors, such as academic, government, nonprofit, and local community, and how the collaboration impact the real world. But as a student, because you know I'm still in my 20s, so I don't know like what adults want and their needs, and also like Giovanna said, like how they want us to help them. And also I think the biggest takeaway from today's session is like Mako said earlier, like, you know, hoping the research focusing more on positive side of aging. So I really appreciate like I can have this opportunity to join this session. It's a really great session. I appreciate it. So thank you.
I think that's a really important point that both you made and Brandy about finding the positivities, keeping those older adults vibrant, and how to be able to connect with them. I've heard this social distancing, and I hate using the word social distancing. I always try to say physical distancing, because, you know, we're taking a population that's already isolated, already lonely, whether or not you have a pet or not. And it's kind of creating this social recession. People are not having the same social networks that they will once we come out of this pandemic. I know, you know, I regret in February not going out to with my friend for brunch, saying, oh, it's a pandemic, but that was like in another part of the world. Now I haven't seen her in 7 months because, you know, things have just changed. And I think when it comes to people having access to foods, it's really important to sort of try to find these supportive networks. You know, do you have a coalition of community providers and partnerships? How can people navigate these resources and how to find that assistance? It's definitely shown and highlighted that there needs to be a widening of access to federal food programs, local food programs. You know, it's not just people who are low income and people of color, it's everyone. You know, people can't go to the store and find food. So I've been ordering everything online because I'd much rather just not deal with the store. But there's definitely a lot of issues that I think, you know, I feel like this could be a session 1 of a series of events that we could have in conversations, because we can unpack a lot of things. And, you know, I'm open to having more discussions and more dialogue as things go on with, you know, working with the Emeriti Center at USC too.
So can we hear from the people over 50? When do you turn from young to old?
I'll talk. And hopefully that answer is never. My name's Teresa. I retired from USC from the Student Health Center. I was the clinical nursing director there I worked there 11 years, but I've been retired now since 2015. My thing is, I've joined a lot of things after I retired. The first year was a big adjustment period for me because my husband was home now too, and we weren't used to being home, and he's a very homebody, quiet. I'm a very active, get out of the house person. So we kind of like we're doing our own things. And then after the first year, I started joining a lot of senior activity groups from a support group. I had cancer at one point, so I'm in a cancer support group. I joined exercise groups, volunteering places, trying to fill that void that I miss so much of going to work every day and taking care of the students and stuff. So, and I was able to find a volunteer job at Kensington Retirement. Well, actually, it's an assisted living home. And I know you probably have heard it on the news when they had COVID hit. So that job kind of got cut right away and put me on isolation for a while because I happened to be working the day with the person who came up positive that first day. And luckily, I never got it, and neither did my family. But it just kind of opened your eyes a little bit about how important this is and how easy it is to get into that COVID, areas. You don't know people have them, they're working with you, and then boom, they're sick. So the exercise programs all went away. The nice little support group I was in went away. All the Torrance Memorial groups went away. And we used to go to lunch after our 2 hours of group and spend the day with each other. These were my friends for the last 7 years, and I started to call them. We have a roster with everybody. We're a very close group. Some of them have been there 18 years. And so I started calling some, just checking in on them. And a lot of the seniors were in depression, very much depressed. Even the ones that lived with family, just their lives got changed totally. So I started calling everybody on phones, trying to communicate. And then I heard about Zoom, which I knew nothing about, but learned real quick and joined in and looked at some classes online for Zoom and started a Zoom group for the cancer support group women. And so we could connect. I didn't claim to be their leader. I just claimed to be someone trying to get us together to visit and have some, life left in us. And that helped so many people. It was amazing just seeing our faces and talking to each other, even though we were still in our homes. What a difference that made. And so now I'm joining more Zoom groups. Now I'm checking into USC's, all their Zoom groups that I'm going to start joining and stuff too, because it's trying to fill the rest of my life activities now. But we still get together. Torrance Memorial just started their Zoom classes for our cancer support group back this month. They have been closed this whole time. So I talked to the nurse leader there and told her all the issues I had at first until we all got used to it, and shared everything I could with her, and she took right over, and it's been wonderful. Now everybody's have like 18 to maybe 24 people show up each Tuesday morning. And now she's back with her teachings and everything about cancer and stuff too. So it's really important. And then somebody had said, you missed the hugs. I think it was Elaine. That is another real important, especially with your grandchildren, because that is what hurts me the most, is not being able to hug my grandkids. And it's not, I'm with them on Zoom, I'm with them on FaceTime. We go distant visiting once in a while with them, but it's not the same. And even my granddaughter, who just turned 9, she says, Grandma, these virtual hugs just doesn't cut it. She goes, I just want to go spend the night at your house and have tea parties again, and she wants to hug me, and my son won't let them. And it's not so much of worried about us giving them anything. He's worried about them giving us something, because he, even though works from home most of the time, he's an engineer and he has to go into work sometimes. And several people have gotten COVID at his job. He hasn't, but he says, Mom, I don't want to take that chance. you guys are high risk, and so I have to appreciate what they're doing for us. But then I say, what if I do get sick and then I die and I had missed all these months of no hugs? It's like a really difficult thing. So Zooming, talking, seeing people, this cancer group though, because it's gone on so long now, we all decided that they needed to see each other in person. So last week we had our first in person at a park where 12 of us showed up under a big shade tree, spaced out really nice. And we were there 2 hours and everybody was so happy. So it's that human communication, and it doesn't matter. We have some young ones in there, but most of us are over 50, and it's very important because a lot of the over 50s are home alone. They're not going anywhere. They're taking care of themselves, So it's real important, and I appreciate these Zoom things. And like I said, I'm checking more out through, the retiree program here. It's this is my second one I've joined. And so just want to say thank you and hi to everybody, and I hope to do more.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you to all of our speakers. Unfortunately, we've run out of time today, but the Emeriti Center is happy to host some more intergenerational discussions on this topic if you're interested. So I will let our students know, and we can sponsor something like this again where we can come together. So even if it's a small little group of 15 or 10, that's always fine. We really enjoy the different perspectives and we learn so much. From Ayusha and Caroline, do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to say before we say goodbye?
No, thank you for having us. I really love, our crosstown partnership. And like I said, I moved to California to go to USC, and my career has landed me at UCLA, and I love being able to build out what we've already started with our retirement center at UCLA. And I'll put our information into the chat. So if you're interested in going to our website, it's a work in progress. But we've also have a bi-monthly newsletter that goes out, and it's full of all kind of information dealing with being older and resources, and just feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you want to work on something in the future together. I'll be glad to partner and do whatever.
Yeah, it's a wonderful newsletter. Caroline?
Thank you. This has been wonderful. It's been great to hear from so many of you, and I look forward to collaborating ongoing in the future. And with this moment, what I've resolved to do is spend more time looking at beautiful things, whether it's a butterfly in my front yard or art I find online. So that's my goal, bringing that forward as well, how we can keep beauty in our lives.
Beauty, positivity, gratefulness, love, caring, all of it. And we wish all of that to you. And take good care, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.